Well, g'day again. I'm grassybeans still, and welcome back to episode 3, the free radicals. If you recall, in the last episode we left Hickory in the midst of a battle with a frenzy of enraged Skarken. I'm happy to report that Hickory was able to admonish the rabble, and as you can see is now prancing round in the field like a little sprite gathering daisies. Isn't that wonderful? We're all so happy for Hickory. And now let's get down to tin tacks. In Australia, that phrase means we're going to stop stuffing about and get on with it. I think the first thing we need to do is explain the free radicals, because that's what this episode is about. It was in the title. First, I just got to deal with Cousin Twitchy here. She's just a little bit agitated. That was just a bit too easy. About the free radicals. If you Google free radical, you'll get, well, no, don't Google it, just look it up. To Google something, to me, sounds like some sort of a nasal exploration. I don't know why, but my big fat brain just places Google and loogie together somehow. And while I'm on the topic of loogies, I haven't mentioned the cell sack that I've been getting this week. I'm quite pleased with the amount of cell sack I'm getting, and I thank all those who've participated. It has been most enjoyable. And on that note, I want to thank all my fans. One of my 2 fans this week sent in an email saying they were intrigued. Isn't that fascinating? My channel seems to be gaining exponentially in popularity. I can barely keep up. Last time I checked my inbox, I saw that another email had flooded in. I don't know what the fluck of docs is happening. Well, now there's a recognisable sound. It sounds like an airdrop. They haven't happened since the war. And you know what that means? Well, of course you don't. You don't know anything about this story until I tell you about it. So I'll tell you about it. The fact that there are airdrops means that Hickory has been sucked out of the 2080 era and dropped into the post-war era, precisely into the period of my game world setting, which is, of course, the post-war era. And during this post-war era, airdrops were still a regular thing. But that's a story for another day. For now, I'll get back to explaining the free radicals. Oh my, was that a chook? Yes, it was. Now I must hunt and kill the chook. Oh look, he's a rock chook. Nope, he's a sitting duck rock chook. Now that was an excellent chook butt shot. Now if perchance you do happen to Google free radical, you're going to find meanings like, quote, an uncharged molecule typically highly reactive and short-lived, having an unpaired valency electron, unquote. Now who the hell knows what that means? Probably a scientist. So that's the definition of a free radical here and now. But we're in Hickory's world now, and in Hickory's world, free radical has a radically different meaning. Did you get that? I used the word radical twice and it fitted. It actually worked. It was good. And no, I'm not going to say anything about your mum this week. It's not a your mum week. Besides, she gave me cell sack last week. Yes, it was good. Oh, yeah, now, the free radicals. Gotta get on with explaining them. I have actually mentioned them twice before. Once in the first episode and again in the second episode. In the first episode, I referred to them as the 4 heroes, and in the second episode, they were the several exceptional scientists. And don't give me the shits, several can be 4. Anyway, they are one and the same, and they are the core of the free radicals. And good God, here comes another interruption. This is Susan. I call her Susan, because she reminds me of someone who was called Susan. The problem is, I can't remember anything about Susan. So I can't tell you anything about her. I'll probably make something up later. Just watch. This is not what you would call a riveting engagement. I have to take very, very, very careful aim, so I don't miss. See? I did it again. I am so good at this. No, lie down, Susan. That's inappropriate behaviour. And that takes care of Susan. But she'll be back later. she always comes back. Now that leaves me free to talk about the free radicals some more. What haven't I told you? I haven't really told you much at all, have I? Well, let's fix that now. You know their birthdays. They were all born on the 22nd of October 2020. If you're into astrology, you know that puts them in the Libra-Scorpio cusp. That'll tell you a little bit more about their personalities. If you're into numerology, their numerology reduces to the number 9. That'll tell you a little bit more about their personalities. But if you think that whole numerology astrology thing is a whole heap of crap, I'll be going deeper into the personalities of each individual one at a later time. But basically they are all scientists. They all entered their own individual fields of science. Specifically computer science, including robotics, biochemistry, microbiology, and social science, including human behavior and society. And all 4 of them eventually expanded into each other's fields and many other fields of science as well. Now let's step out of narration for a tick and look at what's happening in the forge here. Hickory has entered the Iron Age, which means iron tools and improved weapons. And it's not an extraordinary thing that Hickory has this knowledge, because the world that Hickory comes from, although it is a technological world, everyone from this era is trained in basic survival. More on that later. Now, back on topic. Up until now, I have been talking about these 4 scientists as being the free radicals. But in actual fact, the real free radicals expands beyond the 4 scientists. The 4 scientists are the core. They are the spark that ignited a global human movement. And it's this human movement that became known worldwide as the free radicals. And it was this same human movement that reached critical mass just as the year 2046 came to an end. And the war came the very next year, 2047. Skark, you impacted me, butthole. You know, just straight out punching is a fairly good attack. It may not do as much damage, but you can get a lot more whackings in. The stupid skarks don't even know what hit them. Wow, I am such a skillful gamer. One more for the corpse pile. Done dead in no time flat. I am so good. But I do have to get back on topic. So let's sum up what we know about the free radicals. You know that there are 4 scientists who were known as the free radicals. You know that these 4 scientists sparked a human movement that inherited the name free radicals. So from now on, when I talk about the free radicals, I'll be talking about the scientists. When I'm talking about the free radicals, the human movement, I'll just call them the free radical movement. Well, duh. So, there is quite a lot that happens between the birth of the scientists, the birth of the free radical movement, and the war. So now that I've got a little bit of free time, let's delve a little deeper into that topic, shall we? We'll start with the scientists, the 4 free radicals. Being born in the year 2020, they acquired the title of free radicals when they were about 20 years old, so in the year 2040. And let's not forget, these 4 people are Australian, so the world sees them as pinnacles, as opposed to penises. I can say that word because I'm old. Besides, there's nothing wrong with the word pinnacle. It just sounds rude. Nevertheless, they are very special people. Like me, I'm very special. So like I said, they were very special people. And now the reason they were given the title of the free radicals. This goes back to the time of their tutelage, which was a couple of years prior to 2040, so 2038, while they were still at uni. The 4 scientists were deeply involved in the study of socio-economic status and behavioural anomalies, the results of which were the formation of a completely new and radical way of life free from the servitude of profit. The four of them called to this new way of life radical freedom. From there, as time passed and their ideas spread, the name radical freedom naturally morphed into free radicals. They are not yet associated with the human movement. That comes a little while in the future yet. And let's not forget that the war isn't that far in the future. And what a glorious sunset. Would you look at that? I do hope you were looking. If you didn't look, I may have to lean forward in my chair menacingly and lower one eyebrow, he said as he leaned forward in his chair menacingly, lowering one eyebrow for dramatic effect. What do you think about that? Was the obvious question. And of course the answer was cell sack. Lots of cell sack. But now I'll pick up from where I left off. I'll talk some more about the war and the fact that it's not too far in the future. In fact, it's a mere 7 years from the establishment of the four free radicals. Now, because I'm throwing so many dates around here and there and certain events happening on certain dates, to avoid total confusion, I've done a rough timeline of what happens, where and when. It's in PDF format and I've put it on my Google Drive. I've put a link to it in the comments section, so you can download it, look at it, print it out, do what you want with it, just don't wipe your butt with it. But I'm hoping it's a helpful aid with following along with the story, because things are going to get fairly involved in the future. As I progress through the story and more events happen, I'll add those individual events to the timeline and I'll upload the new timeline as we go so you can keep up to date with everything that's happening. So that file is there right now if you want to go and download it and have a look at it. I'll pause for a moment while you go and do that. Yeah, that's a long enough pause now. I'll get back to the story. Now that you've downloaded that file and you're looking right at it, I'll point out a few things. You'll see that it consists of 3 pages, 1 page for each episode. And you'll see in the top left-hand corner there's a shaded box that says Dark Side Lunar Mining started July 1979. And the arrow points to the left, which is backwards. That's because I couldn't fit the entire timeline on 1 page. I just started in the important year, which is the year that I started making this movie, 2018. And beneath the backwards pointing arrow, it reads Initial Black Hole Triad Event, early 2002. You should remember those things from episode 1. And I'm not going to read all the things on the page, because that would bore me to tears. You can bore yourself with it later at your own leisure. But you will see everything that's on the page now I have mentioned in either episode 1, episode 2, or this episode. And if you have any questions, don't look at me, I don't know. Go ask your mum. Actually, that's not true. If you have questions, post them, I will answer them. There's no question that I can't answer, because I wrote the story and I know all the answers. And if I don't know it, I can always make something up. And lo, the morning cock has crowed. We're now in day 4. You know what that means. It means absolutely squat, because day 7 is the important day. You know that, I know that, and Hickory knows that. But I'm not going to talk about that, because that's not about the free radicals. And this episode is about the free radicals. It's in the title. And now that I've been bragging for a while about the 7 Days to Die timeline that I'm sure you've downloaded and are now looking at, I'm not going to mention it again. You can just keep it handy and refer to it whenever you feel the need. As for me, I'm going to talk more about the free radicals. I don't think I've mentioned it before, but they were all born in different parts of Australia. I'll go into that in a little more detail very shortly. But other than that, their childhood and their adolescence was quite non-eventful, other than the fact that they were child prodigies, of course. But it was really only when they became young adults that they made their mark. And now I think it's probably time that I introduce the 4 heroes, one by one and in no particular order. Starting with Surrey Royce. Surrey was born in Darwin, Northern Territory, Australia. Surrey became a social scientist and was the one most responsible for the implementation of the way of life that they labelled radical freedom. And the next one of the scientists is Athelia Tiali. Athelia was born in Hobart, Tasmania, and became a microbiologist. Athelia paved new ground in the field of splicing nanomites into the human genome, an entirely new field of science. And the next of the four scientists is Arian Nicola. Arian was born on the Sunshine Coast in Queensland, became a computer scientist, and made huge inroads into nanotechnology and the production of nanomites. And the fourth scientist is Delandia Grady. Born in Carnarvon, Western Australia, became a biochemist and was responsible for the adaptation of a newly discovered microcomputational process into organic material, another brand new branch of science. So now you know who and what the free radicals are. Ah, yikes! That didn't hurt. It probably didn't even happen. I think I was mining. I never stopped mining, that never happened. And now that you know that that never happened, I actually meant to do it. And you know that I've been thundering on about the free radicals for the last day or so. You should have a pretty good understanding who and what the free radicals are. And you should know by now that free radicals are not just the cause of some sort of rampaging, premature aging leprosotic disease. I do regret having spoken that last pile of slop. I wholeheartedly encourage you to ignore it. Cellsack. So do you see what I'm saying about the skark being the same people over and over? That was Cousin Twitchy that I just dusted up again. And what do you know? Here comes Crawley Joe. I'll give him a bat wave first. Yeah, you just lay there and lick some dirt, Crawley Joe. I've developed a new kill skill. First you break their arm, and then you splatter their head. Pretty cool, right? Oh, look what I did to her arm. Grisly. Now, if you'll recall in the last episode, I spotted a town in the distance. Well, this is the road to that town, and we're on our way there now. But before we get there, I'm going to talk about something else. But even before that, I have to engage here in some more deskarkanology. That's a new word I invented. So now back to what I was talking about. Earlier in this episode, when I went looking for the airdrop, you may have noticed that there were 2 airdrops, but I only went to 1. The reason for that is that Hickory has 2 profound phobias. The first phobia is water. Hickory is terrified of water. Actually, at that early stage of the game, I just didn't know that you could go in water. So, I've adapted the story to my game. Hence, I have proclaimed that Hickory has a phobia of water. And it was so. And Hickory's other crippling phobia is bears. Hickory is deathly afraid of bears. Bears are even scarier than water, because water doesn't growl and scratch and chase you around the paddock. Plus, bears don't make you wet like some things. Water, for example. Now, the fact that we're near this pond, could you imagine that Hickory may be pondering, if I were a cow, I could be eating this grass, but somehow life has prevented me from being the cow that I could have been. I wonder, what would you ponder while walking beside this pond? Well, I seem to have gotten way off topic again. I don't know how that keeps happening. I feel like I should emphasize Hickory's irrational fear of bears a little more, but I think I've done my job in that respect. You get the idea. However, there is something that I did forget. I started telling you about the second airdrop, and then I got distracted. What I was getting round to saying is the fact that the second airdrop was in deep water, and because of Hickory's irrational fear of water, as well as bears, the second airdrop was just out of the question. Oh, I feel a bit of fun coming on. I feel like this could be a good chance to play some nice hunt music. Creative Commons license, of course. Ah yes, a most gratifying kill. Now to carve the meat up for the kids. Hickory doesn't have kids. But first, I must look out for bears. There might be a bear. I see no bears. There's no bears here. There's no bear there. I don't think there's a bear anywhere. There better not be a bear. I'm terrified of bears, is what Hickory thought, whilst pounding the pig with a masterfully sharpened shiv. Hickory's always on edge and always on the lookout. And that was the sound of a bear. Where, oh, where is this bear? Not over there, not over there. And there's the bear. There's the bear. This is the end of episode 3. There is still so much more to come. You should join me again in the next episode. If you enjoyed my video, please do all the things. That is, salsack, share and like, subscribe and comment. I love when people salsack me.